of these different things, over the course of many years, but they understood it, and it's so absolutely beautiful the way they understood it. So, well, let me read this for a second.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, man needs to learn harmony and peace with nature more than in any other age in history. There are enormous regions over the earth where he is letting the topsoil deteriorate and disappear. Never before has there been such wholesome destruction of forests, not only in 1 or 2 countries, but all over the 5 continents. As a consequence of this lack of cooperation with nature, the desert areas of the world are increasing, drought is more and more frequent, floods periodically inundate the land. There is an unmistakable deterioration of climate, excessive cold, excessive heat, and increasing hordes of insect pests damaging crops throughout the world. Instead of following the noble tradition of the Essenes' contemporary, man fails to recognize the great law of unity and cooperation with nature and seems bent on deteriorating his heritage, refusing to read the great open book of nature which reveals all the laws of life and shows the way to ever-increasing happiness of man. One of the things that the Essenes also taught is that because the law, you can call it a bunch of different things. You can look at it lots of different ways. You can call it the quantum field. You can call it the unified field theory. I refer to it as the sacred science oftentimes. But it's everything. Everything is connected to everything else. And when we understand how that works, you don't need religion. You don't need government. You just need to understand why was all of this created, and how do you keep creating it? What does that take? And it requires not only knowledge of the law, but then you have to become in harmony with it, because the law creates, upholds, and regenerates life. And when we don't know that, well, then you get things like HAARP, you get things like weather modification, you get vaccines that poison people, you get all this other stuff going on that was never supposed to be part of the experience. Because it's not right to say that when we deviate from the law, which means the law is life, when we deviate from it, we instantly feel the ramifications and consequences of it. So it's not some, graybeard on a cloud hitting us with lightning bolts and saying, bad humans, stop doing that. It's we are the ones who, when we deviate from what it takes to create and uphold life, then we begin to experience degeneration, disintegration, and death. There's no other way around it. So do you need a religion to teach that to you? I don't think so. And I think that religion at some point actually knew, but the kind of life that we came here to live really just requires an understanding of the law and a love for life. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require doctrine. It doesn't require giving your power away to a priest or a politician. It requires self-responsibility. So I think that the one law is what we've spent so many generations trying to remember. And interestingly, Professor Zeke talks about how when Moses was given the one law, and Moses saw that the people around him were unripe for it. They weren't ready. But he also foresaw in them that they were the progenitors of future generations, and that there would come a time when there would be a generation on the face of the earth who would be ready to return. And I think that you and I are seeing that. And I think it's really incredible, and I really can't wait. I think it's going to be really neat.
I can't wait either.
Is that one law, is that the same one that David Wilcock talks about all the time?
I get asked that all the time. And the truth is that when I wrote all of this and I went on my journey, I was led to very, very specific sources of information. And I had never even heard of Project Camelot or any of their associates or David Wilcock or any of these other people. So I really don't know. I'm not familiar with his work. I did have someone explain to me once that it's channeled.
It's called the law of one, not the one law.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really know. I know that I personally am not by nature a fan of channeled information. But I would add to that you don't need the channeled information to understand it, because there have been many, many, many great people on this planet who have tried to reintroduce it And a lot of these sources are covered in the book so that people can seek them out and not have to rely on what someone channeled, because you don't have to channel it. It's been written down for a very long time.
So a lot of all the information's out there. I think the biggest problem is that there's so much out there that is not quite right, and it kind of distracts people and takes them down these wild goose chases and dead end roads, and then they end up right back where they started. Like they get too much in their head.
I think so. I think there's a lot of distractions, and if you don't mind, really quick, I would just like to read something out of another book. It's called the Essene Book of Creation, and this predates the Bible, by the way. And we've all heard that saying. It's been twisted around that because man took from the tree, our lives were shortened and we were punished. But what I'm going to read to you now predates what's in the Bible, and you're instantly going to see how it was perverted once I read it to you, okay? Okay, so this is the text as given in Genesis, but the esoteric text of the Essene Book of Creation diverges considerably from it. So this is what you find. Okay, in the Bible it says, "And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil, and now lest he put forth his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever." So in the Bible it basically says that we can't take from the tree of life. But the Essene version is very different. It says, "And the law, the Creator, said, Behold, the man is not as one of us, since he knows good and evil, and he cannot now put forth his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever." Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
We were not supposed to know both good and evil, I guess you could say. What we created was beautiful, and that was the experience that we were supposed to have. But something got kind of tweaked. I do think that there was outside interference, but I also think that we didn't use our free will to the best of our advantage. So we're learning from that experience. But it's the reason that we can't now hold out our hand and grab from the tree of life and eat is because we've deviated from the law. And those deviations, because the law is life, the Essenes also refer to the law as the Creator, and scientists now would call it the quantum field. So if we don't understand what it takes to create, regenerate, and uphold life, then how can we experience a life of abundance? I mean, you can't, because you don't know how anymore. But I think that we're returning to a place where people are going to remember, and I think that I think it's an exciting time. I know that a lot of people are really stressed out and they're really troubled, and of course that tearing down before the rebuilding phase is very difficult. But I'm actually looking forward to seeing what comes out of it.
Yep, I am very optimistic, and that drives people crazy. Even at work, they
It really does, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, because I'm always I've always and this is something I've known through my whole life, is that no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. No matter what happens, it's going to be okay. And I've always just felt that in my heart and soul, no matter what, it's going to be okay. And so I never worry. And it just drives people up the wall when I don't worry about meeting this deadline or getting this done or that done or what's going to happen if this happens. I go, no, if's ass, I'll deal with whatever comes my way and deal with it the best way I know how.
Yeah, that's really the proper way to look at it. I mean, people are constantly asking, where can I go to be saved? What should I do? And the truth of the matter is that people are getting the experience that they're perpetuating. That's another thing about the sacred science. It's this big, huge mirror. Everything we send out comes back to us. So we are part of that experience, and people are missing that. People are taking the victim mentality. Oh, it's terrible. There's nothing I can do. But if you want to view life as a victim, then you're going to become a victim. But at the same time, that's what you're choosing to experience, and that's what people don't understand. We experience what we choose to experience. So if a person, let's say a person stays in California and there's a massive earthquake and they die, the oversoul and the subconscious mind always knows that that's going to be the outcome. It's the conscious mind that chooses whether or not that's the outcome they want to experience. So the lessons don't have to be learned through suffering. Humanity is going to get where it's supposed to go. The only thing that I caution people about is be aware of how you want to get there. Do you want to get there through suffering and loss, or do you want to get there through love and abundance? Because one path is a lot quicker and easier than the other.
Exactly. Okay, well, Crystal, we're actually zeroing in on the end of our first hour. Like now
Already?
Yeah, I know. Isn't
That was fast, yeah.
that something? It just went. This absolutely flew by. Where can we?
Oh, man.
Tell us a little bit about your new projects. You just had your new book released just recently.
I did, yeah. The second book is it's Who Are We Really 102, When Tomorrow Comes, and it's actually fiction, which is kind of strange to start out a series that's that's nonfiction and then move to fiction. But what I discovered is that the first book I thought was pretty tame, the way I kind of try to move people through their process, so they can understand how the one law works. But I gave it to relatives who absolutely know nothing about anything. They're the proverbial turn us on the truck like we all were once. And they couldn't get through it. It was too direct maybe, I'm not sure. But so in the second book, it's a very, very beautiful story, and I became very fascinated with time and different time streams and different realities. And so basically what I did is if you're the kind of person who thinks, wow, there's somebody I really love who could benefit from this, but they can't take the information this way, the second book, through fiction, tells a lot of really beautiful stories and releases a lot of this information in a way that I think certain people can accept better. And for people who have read War 101, it will take them further into the process. And it's a really neat story about two different timelines that are connected and how things are interrelated. And a lot of great lessons are incorporated into the story. And it's exciting. There's love and there's loss and there's pain and there's suffering and there's joy. And the two timelines are very different. One is a future that we could have if we chose not to learn the lessons through suffering. And then the other is a future we could have if we choose to learn the lessons through suffering. And I think part of me was really kind of hoping when I wrote it that even though it's a neat story, just for people who like to read in general and don't want to feel like they're being, educated, they just want some entertainment, it's still a neat story. But I think secretly I was hoping that if people could live out both future versions through fiction, that maybe they would incorporate that into their own life a little bit better. Does that make sense? Maybe choose a little more carefully.
Okay, so where we've got a minute left. Where can we find those at?
My website is www.thesolsociety.com.
And the books are available at BookLocker, correct?
At BookLocker, the first book, Who Are We Really 101, Return of the Shaman, is available on Amazon.com too, and it'll take about 2 weeks before the other one is available on Amazon.
Okay, great. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for listening tonight, and you can catch the second half of the show in the archives and on my YouTube page. Plus, I believe we'll probably be getting some podcast stuff going here real soon. So thanks for visiting. Our website is conscious-tv.com. Ramon, anything?
Just thank you very much, and make sure you keep tuning in.